Molossus. The Molossus is the ghost that haunts every modern Mastiff, Bulldog, and Guardian breed alive today. Bred somewhere in the ancient mountains of Epirus, this dog wasn't just a companion, it was a weapon of war, a shepherd's fortress, and a symbol of Roman dominance, all rolled into one enormous frame. Ancient writers like Aristotle and Virgil wrote about it with a reverence usually saved for generals. The Molossus didn't need theatrics. It moved with the quiet authority of something that had already decided the outcome. Nobody alive has seen one in centuries, but the shadow it casts over dog breeding is longer than almost any other animal in history. Tessem. The Tessem is the dog carved into the walls of Egyptian tombs over 5,000 years ago, caught mid-stride in a posture that somehow still looks modern. Lean, prick-eared, and built for desert heat, this dog hunted alongside pharaohs and was mummified with the same care given to royalty. Whether the Tessem is a true ancestor of the Basenji or the Pharaoh hound remains debated, but what isn't debated is that it existed, painted in ochre and terracotta across thousands of years of Egyptian art. It ran light, thought fast, and was treated not as property, but as a companion worthy of the afterlife. Vertragus. The Vertragus is the ancient world's answer to speed. Documented by Roman and Celtic sources as a sighthound of extraordinary swiftness, this dog was bred across Gaul and the British Isles to chase game across open ground with almost mechanical efficiency. It may well be one of the foundational ancestors of the greyhound. What set the Vertragus apart wasn't aggression or power, it was pure, disciplined velocity. Roman soldiers brought these dogs along on campaigns not for protection, but for hunting, and possibly for the sheer prestige of owning something that fast. Laconian Hound. The Laconian Hound came from Sparta, which tells you almost everything you need to know. Bred in a culture that valued function over decoration, this dog was a scent tracker of legendary reputation, patient, relentless, and utterly indifferent to comfort. Xenophon wrote about it in detail, describing a dog that would work through terrain and weather that would stop other breeds entirely. This wasn't a dog that needed encouragement. Once it had a trail, it followed it with the same iron stubbornness that Spartan soldiers brought to the battlefield. Somewhere deep in the lineage of modern scent hounds, this dog is still running. Hare Indian Dog. The Hare Indian Dog is one of the strangest and saddest losses in canine history. Kept by the Hare people of northwestern Canada, this dog was described by early European explorers in the 1800s as something almost fox-like in appearance, light-framed, large-eared, and unusually quiet, rarely barking in the way European dogs did. It ran alongside hunters on the tundra with an effortless, gliding gait. Within decades of sustained contact with European settlers and their dogs, it was crossbred out of existence. By the mid-1800s, it was gone, surviving only in journal entries and a single preserved skin. If you're enjoying this, please consider subscribing. Talbot Hound. The Talbot Hound was the scent-tracking obsession of medieval England. White-coated, heavy-boned, and possessed of a nose that was considered almost supernatural by the standards of the time. It appeared on noble coats of arms across Britain and France from the Norman period onward. Kings and earls kept Talbots. Entire hunts were organized around them. The breed was described as slow but utterly unstoppable once it locked onto a scent, a dog that didn't rush but simply arrived inevitably. Its genetics almost certainly flowed into the bloodhound and the beagle. It faded from records around the 1700s, replaced by faster, more refined breeds, but its nose arguably lives on in every tracking dog working today. Alpine Mastiff. The Alpine Mastiff was enormous,
Not modern Mastiff enormous, historically enormous, with contemporary accounts from the 1800s describing individuals of a size that would turn heads even by today's standards. Bred across the Swiss and Italian Alps, this dog guarded mountain passes, livestock, and monasteries with the kind of calm authority that comes from knowing nothing in the valley is a match for you. It is widely considered the primary ancestor of the St. Bernard and contributed substantially to the Bernese Mountain Dog and Greater Swiss Mountain Dog. When it was absorbed into those descendants through planned crossbreeding in the 1800s, the Alpine Mastiff as a distinct breed simply ceased to exist. But its bones and temperament live on in every mountain rescue dog that has ever pulled someone from the snow. Paisley Terrier. The Paisley Terrier was without question the most decorative working dog that ever existed. Developed in the Clyde Valley of Scotland in the 1800s, it was bred specifically to refine the Skye Terrier into something with a longer, silkier, more spectacular coat, a show dog for the Victorian era when competitive dog showing was a new and fashionable obsession. It was small, short-faced, and wrapped in a floor-length curtain of fine hair that took considerable effort to maintain. Its show career peaked and then collapsed rapidly as the Yorkshire Terrier arrived on the scene and captured the same audience with even more flair. The Paisley Terrier contributed directly to the Yorkshire Terrier's development and then quietly disappeared, a breed that existed almost entirely to create something else. Suliat Dog. The Suliat dog came from the Suli region of northwestern Greece and was kept by the Suliats, a fiercely independent mountain people who resisted Ottoman rule for generations. These dogs were large, powerful, and deeply bonded to their communities, used for both guarding and hunting in some of the most difficult terrain in the Balkans. When the Suliats were ultimately driven from their homeland in the early 1800s, their dogs scattered with them, crossbreeding into surrounding populations and losing their identity as a distinct type. Lord Byron, who traveled through the region and admired the Suliats enormously, is said to have kept a Suliat dog. It is a breed that disappeared not from neglect, but from the destruction of the culture that created it. Chien Gris. The Chien Gris, the greyhound of France, was the premier hunting dog of the French royal court for several centuries. Not a sighthound, but a large pack scent hound with a characteristic gray coat, bred and maintained exclusively by the crown and the highest nobility. It was the dog of Charlemagne's era, of medieval hunts that lasted for days across enormous royal forests. The French monarchy kept these dogs in packs of hundreds. When the Revolution came and the estates dissolved and the forests were divided, the vast royal hunting infrastructure that sustained the Chien Gris simply ceased to exist. The breed had been so deliberately kept within elite ownership that there was no broader population to survive the collapse. It went with the world that created it. We've spent thousands of years carefully breeding these animals, and the least we can do is feed them right. I've been using this guide called the Complete Dog Diet and Homemade Meal Guide. It's got 20 homemade recipes. Everything's made from ingredients you'd find at any grocery store. No fillers, no mystery meat, just real food. If you've ever thought about cooking for your dog but didn't know where to start, this is genuinely the easiest way in. Links in the description.